Good morning, everybody. Just waiting for a couple of people to connect to the audio there, so I'll just give it 5 seconds or so. I hope everybody's well. Brilliant. So we'll get started. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. My name's Damien and I'm from Nexus Education. And today we're really happy to be working with Emily Richards and Charlotte from Stickman Consultancy. But we'll get over to that in a second. Just to explain a little bit about what Nexus do and who we are, just in case you're not aware. So we're basically a community of about 11,000 schools all across the UK and international as well, state and independent. And what we do is we go into groups of schools and we use data to analyze what it is they're really struggling with at the moment and what they're looking to research or maybe even procure over the next 6 to 12 months. And then we analyze that data and match them up to solutions in the marketplace that can help. Everything we do for schools is completely free. And we actually donate a portion of our revenue back to the schools working with us. So since 2019, we've saved a couple of million hours worth of time, a couple of million hours worth of money as well. And we've actually donated over £160,000 back to schools. We're actually running an independent school-only next working session, which is what we call them, in the new year. So once this session's finished, I'll send you a link to that so you can sign up. Again, it's completely free and you'll leave with lots of ideas and tips to move forward with. Without any further ado, that's enough about me and Nexus. I'm going to hand over to Emily, who's going to tell us all about what she's doing at the moment and talk us through what a results-driven school marketing strategy looks like. So without any further ado, over to you, Emily.
Thank you, Damien. Brilliant. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's Thursday has started well. Yeah, delighted you're here, and thank you to Nexus as well for inviting us along. Yeah, as Damien said, we're going to be talking you through the nuts and bolts of a results-driven school marketing strategy, and our goal in the next 45 minutes is to make this as jam-packed with value and tangible takeaways as we can for you. So we're going to be asking key questions at the end of sections that you can take away and ask yourselves and implement at your school. And also we want to make this fun too. So if you have any reactions to what we're sharing with you, or thoughts or ideas or personal experiences around what we're sharing, or challenges, questions, pop them in the chat, and when they pop into your head, and we'll discuss them at the end. So just a quick intro from me. I'm Emily Richards, for those of you that don't know me. I founded Stickman 10 years ago, and here's the gang. We're a small, mighty, agile and super experienced school marketing team. Basically, we support schools with powerful, no-nonsense school marketing services that pay for themselves, because we focus on helping schools to recruit pupils effectively and to retain pupils too. It's our mission as a company to save schools from complicated, ineffective marketing, and to simplify but really power up your marketing and get you having better results with it. So we ensure that you're focusing on the marketing activities that are going to make the biggest difference. And we've done this for many, many schools all over the world. We work with schools across the UK and internationally. We work with schools of all shapes and sizes, mainly independent and state 2, and they come to us at all stages of struggles and successes. Some have big gaps in their pupil numbers, others are full with waiting lists, and they want to future-proof their pupil pipeline. Kinds of people we tend to work with are school leaders or school marketing or admissions professionals like yourselves, and they're super passionate about their school and what it provides to children and young people. Yet they're often faced with challenges such as feeling really time poor, never enough hours in the day, or they struggle with those low inquiries or empty school places, and they're usually feeling a sense of kind of overwhelmed by the number of marketing options and not knowing which to choose. And often there's no strategy or plan in place to address this. And so they're kind of adopting a really haphazard approach, reactive approach, rather than that kind of planned, proactive approach. Or sometimes they really struggle in knowing how to define what's unique about their school and to tell their story effectively. And there's real added pressure at the moment with schools knowing that the next 2 years are going to be increasingly tough in terms of stiff competition, affordability of school fees, due to the rising costs of living that we're all seeing every second of the day on the news at the moment. coupled with that and the government's plans to add VAT to school fees too. And these are really real threats. And so getting your marketing right now is more important than ever. And the really smart schools are actually prioritizing marketing and admissions without delay. And I want you to really think about that, that point, because marketing isn't a nice to have or an extra thing you do when the going is good at your school. It's actually something that should be constant and consistent, and actually especially when you're operating in a really tough environment. So when those smarter schools come to us at Stickman to get a results-driven marketing and admissions strategy in place, we can help them in 3 ways. So we offer online training, and we have a 6-week marketing and admissions course, and we do training with admissions teams too. We offer bespoke support such as marketing strategies and key messages development and social media strategies, or we conduct stakeholder research, things like mystery shops, online parent and staff surveys, or focus groups. But whichever a school opts for, they always come out with a clear marketing roadmap that's really driven by getting results for your school. We're proud to say we've generated nearly £5 million for schools in additional pupil fees due to helping them to market and attract more families to their school. And our secret to success is our 3-step system. And this is what we're going to be sharing with you today. So it's a model that we use in all the work we do with schools. And we're going to give you an overview. And I'm going to be summarizing the questions, as I said, at the end of each of these 3 steps. Okay, so just before we dive in, just going to do a quick poll to see what your challenges are right now, things that you may be facing at your school. So the question is, what are your biggest school marketing and admissions headaches? So to answer, all you do is just open the camera on your phone and scan the QR code that's in the top left of the screen, scan that using your phone's camera, and get the QR code in the yellow square corner that appears, then click on the link and it will allow you to vote. I'm just going to give you a few seconds to do that. Great, yep, student recruitment. No marketing plan or strategy, yep. This is all familiar. Just give it another 10 seconds for any late voters. Yes, understanding the best marketing activities to do, totally get that. Another few seconds. Student recruitment, yeah, okay. Yeah, it just, it's so familiar to us, this, and it's something that, you know, is fixable. So please take heart from that. And it's just about knowing the right things to do ultimately. And I think that's where we can really help you today. So let's dive in. So the first step in creating a results-driven marketing strategy is preparing a strong foundation for your marketing. Now, this step is really crucial because if you start promoting your school without your basics sorted, and I'll tell you what those are in a second, then your efforts are likely to be futile. It's a bit like if you think of it as the foundations of a house. Without those foundations, the house is just going to be no use to anyone. So this step involves getting all your marketing ducks in a row and ready for action. And at Stickman, there are 3 ducks that need lining up in this prepare step. And the first of those is goals. So I want you to ask yourselves if you are setting meaningful goals at the outset of your marketing planning, because doing this can be the difference between achieving what you set out to or not. And it's going to also show you what's working and what's not working. You know, has the money that you've invested been well spent, for example, in that expensive new website or perhaps a glossy prospectus? So ask yourselves, what are the priorities? What are we trying to achieve here? Is it to attract new families? And judging by those poll results, that would suggest that that's a top priority for a lot of you. Or is it to engage your existing families? Or is it to generally just raise the profile of your school? But be clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve. because setting those goals at the outset of your planning is really key. It's the first step in developing that results-driven marketing strategy. The second element is preparing a strong foundation, is getting to know your target audience. Who are those prospective families? Now, this tip alone could save you loads of money if you're not clear on this at the moment, because all too often we see schools not being clear about who they're targeting with their marketing, and they're adopting this kind of spray and pray, sort of fire at everyone approach, which means that you're going to be wasting a lot of budget on reaching people who are potentially never going to be interested in your school. Plus, your marketing is really unlikely to resonate with anyone because it's going to be so vanilla, trying to please everyone with your message. Whereas being clear on your target audience not only removes these issues, but it also ramps your marketing up to the next level. So let me show you how. So, for example, if you understand your target audience's needs, wants, and desires in relation to their child's education, you'll know what to say to them. So that means you're going to be able to craft marketing messages and define that USP about your school that's going to really resonate with your key stakeholders, such as prospective families. You'll also understand where your audience hang out, so how you can reach them, which marketing activities to do. So consider where they spend their time. Where do they hang out? Where do they hang out online? Where do they hang out offline? As I say, you're going to really be able to hone your marketing down then to those activities and reach them in the places where they're actually spending time. And the third thing to consider in knowing your audience is consider the timing when they might be looking for a school for their child. So this will mean that you'll then know the best timings to execute your marketing activities. And it's really important not to guess at this either. So we advise you to conduct research around this. And when we help schools do that, it's really enlightening for them because they suddenly see the light and they can really know that the effort they're putting in is based on evidence and insight. The third thing to line up in this step is sorting your school's identity. So this is your school's visual identity and also your marketing messages. So what you look like as a brand and the story that you're telling about your school. And these elements need to represent your school well and be really crisp and really fresh and compelling for prospective families. Otherwise, you run the risk of not being distinctive or of standing out against the competition. And prospective families are just going to be attracted to other schools. Now, standing out and being distinctive in this way isn't always that easy because there's a lot of marketing noise now that exists due to the enormous content overload that consumers now have. You'll know what it's like yourselves if you go online. You're just kind of, Facebook or any social media feed, for example, there's just message after message, there's ad after ad. And the average person is now encounters around 6,000 ads every single day. And when you couple that with the fact that it's estimated that you now only have 8 seconds to grab the attention of people scrolling through social media, you quickly realize that prospective families need really snappy messages that are going to grab their attention quickly. Now, here's the brutal truth. Too many schools sound the same. So saying things like, we nurture every pupil, or we develop the whole child. How is that different to any other school in the land? So at Stickman, we help schools with strategies such as defining their USPs, their key messages, with no more than 3 key themes. And we really make those messages really sizzle to make them stand apart. Now, as I say, we define their messaging into these 3 content themes, and 3 being the ideal number due to the power of 3 and people remembering things in 3s. Yet, when you're working in a school on a day-to-day basis, it's not always that easy to see the wood for the trees and to pinpoint those 3 things, what your unique essence is. And an example of this is our client, Sunningdale School. They're a very successful boys' prep school in Berkshire in the UK. And their headmaster, Tom Dawson, shown here, was experiencing exactly this. He approached Stickman to say, we've got all this amazing stuff going on, with amazing facilities, we give our pupils great opportunities, yet we struggle in knowing how to talk about our school, what key messages to push, what differentiates us. We need a clear story. Now, Tom is a super experienced and really forward-thinking headmaster, and he's really passionate about marketing his school and doing it well. So coming to us for help, this isn't about capability, it's merely about not being able to see it clearly when you're immersed in that busy school environment on a daily basis. So we help schools, we've helped schools to find these big messages, and we do this by working really closely with them. So we conducted research with key members of staff at Sunningdale, and then we engaged with parents as well via an online survey, and we were looking to find the real essence of what makes that school unique and special. It's kind of like we're mining for gold. We dig until we find it. And it doesn't matter what type of school you are, what size of school you are, what location you're in, every school has a powerful and unique story to tell. It just needs uncovering. So when we helped Sunningdale to define their story, we developed a concept based around igniting your spark. So this was after brainstorming as a team based on all the insight that we'd found after speaking with their key stakeholders. So it became igniting your spark through friendship, through curiosity, and through challenge. And as well as defining those key messages, it's equally as important to bring them to life across the whole school so that they become the way you do things. They become part of your DNA, your culture as a school. So we showed Sunningdale how to do that too. And we gave them examples of stories that they could tell for each of these messages. And we shared this with them in a framework that gave them a really easy script to talk about this, that anyone and everyone in their school could use. Because when everyone is telling the same story across your school about what's unique and what's special about your school, then that's when your marketing and your story becomes really powerful. Okay, so there are many schools that we've helped in this way, and it's actually a really exciting process for the school because as well as their newly defined story that they get and the raising of their profile around that, it becomes so much easier to talk about what you do and to convey that in a really succinct fashion to all stakeholders, but namely prospective families. So they kind of go from feeling really confused about what to say to having really great clarity. Okay. So another element of preparing a strong identity for your school is to ensure that your school website and your social media are optimized and representing your school well. So if you think about it, these two platforms are the cornerstone of the inquiry journey for a prospective family, because they're going to check these out, possibly even before making contact with you. Plus, they're really key platforms for driving inquiries. Now, this shown here is our own Instagram feed, and we pride ourselves on maintaining really high quality content because we know that it's a really crucial factor in our own lead generation, in our own generation of inquiries. And it's no different for school and generating inquiries from a prospective family. So it's really essential that those cornerstone platforms are firing on all cylinders. And one way we help schools to achieve this are the social media reviews that we offer as part of our 6-week course. So during these sessions, we look at the school's social media activities, and that includes the type of content that you're putting out there. We give content ideas around that. We look at the images you're using, the photography. We even talk to you about reels if you're ready for those. We look at the hashtags you're using. We look at which platforms, and we're all about less is more. We much prefer you to focus on 1 or 2 platforms and nail those and go deep on those, rather than spreading yourself too thinly across too many social media platforms. And again, that goes back to where your audience is. And we look at growing your audience on those platforms. And really importantly, we look at time-saving techniques in managing social media. So schools go away from these sessions really fired up and really reinvigorated about their social media activities. And I really want to emphasize here that that doesn't mean investing thousands in a website or on social media ads. This is about free of charge fixes that are going to really offer instant benefit and are essential actions in getting those prospective families to inquire. So that's your first step, step one of Stickman's three-step system. And the key questions there to ask yourselves include, have you set yourselves those goals? Have you defined your target audience? And is your school's identity distinctive and consistent? So ask yourselves those, and it's really going to highlight the areas that A, you're up to speed on, or B, where a bit of work is needed. So it's really, really great for focusing your efforts. So is everyone with me so far? Just let me know in the chat or give me a thumbs up just to show me. Yes, I can see a thumbs up there. That's great. Lovely. Michelle, thank you, Michelle. I can't see anyone else because I've only got a view of 4, but let me know in the chat if you can, if that's enabled, Damien. Sorry if it's not, everybody, but give me a thumbs up if not. So on to the second step. Once you've prepared that great foundation, you need to promote your school effectively with a really robust mix of online and offline marketing activities, and ensure that you're generating a reliable and robust number of inquiries into your school at any given time. So how do you do that? Well, firstly, we encourage you to avoid the mistake of thinking, it's okay, we've got it sorted, we're having a new website. No, that's not going to do it. The key is to reach the right audience with the right messages and the right visual identity on the right marketing channels at the right time. Okay, so that sounds a lot of things to think about. So this is where our three-step system comes into its own, because actually all the preparation work done in step one, in the prepare step, is going to pay off because you'll have done 80% of that. So that just leaves those last 2 items to focus on, the marketing channels and the marketing timings when you're putting your activity out there. And this is something we see schools struggle with all the time. So we really love showing them which channels to be on. And we, more than anything, our sweet spot is seeing that relief and the clarity that that brings and the weight it takes off their shoulders. It's also important, and this is a really key point, is making sure you're thinking strategically across your marketing activities. So, excuse me, they all need to work together and reach your audience from several complementary angles, because activities working in silo, such as just having that single website that I mentioned and relying on that and putting all your eggs in that basket, is just not a good investment or a good approach, because it's just going to get lost in the noise, that clutter that we saw earlier. So it isn't going to provide that silver bullet for you. So there's a rule that we urge you to listen to, which is the rule of 7, which states that a prospect needs to hear or see an advertiser's message at least 7 times before they'll take action of some sort. For example, making an inquiry at your school. People are so busy that a one-off hit and disruption of their attention isn't going to cut it. It's not going to sink in with them if they only see your message or your ad once or twice. It needs to be repeated for it to hit home. And the key to achieving that is mapping your activities out by way of a marketing plan. So this is where your activities are planned out holistically and are working in harmony, and it means you'll be reaching your audience in a way that is going to get them to notice your school. You can see that that website is just one part of a whole strategic swathe of activities. Ultimately, this means you're going to get results from your marketing and that your budget is going to work hard for your school. And it also helps with the accountability of the marketing of your school. So let's see how this plays out. This is how the bigger boys do it. Look at John Lewis at the moment. They're teasing their Christmas ad and they're building excitement up to the release of that. And they're doing this across several marketing channels. So email marketing, TV, radio, social media, Google, in-store experience, and so on. And it's a really well planned out, well thought through mix of online and offline activities. And it all has that unified messaging and that brand consistency where everything is working in harmony towards the same goals. And it really works, because we all know the huge success that John Lewis see with this year on year. I mean, even Charlotte said to me this morning that her 12-year-old son has said to her that he wants to make a family occasion of watching the John Lewis Christmas ad together. Okay, he's 12 and he's probably never going to even buy anything from John Lewis. But John Lewis and the other big boys, the Coca-Colas of this world, the Nikes of this world, they all need that central marketing plan that underpins all of that activity, meaning that it all has a backbone to it, and then it underpins that success. It brings everything together. Now, obviously, schools do not have the budgets of a John Lewis or a Nike, nowhere near. I know that because we work with them, and I've worked with those big brands in my previous career. But the principle is the same. Whatever your marketing budget is, it needs to all work together, not in silo. Okay, and a marketing plan will really help you to do that. But again, it's something that schools don't find that easy, or they just can't make the time to create these plans. So in our kind of making school marketing simple fashion, we have created a ready-to-go marketing plan shown here on screen that we offer as part of our course, our 6-week course, because it gives schools a ready-made solution that just saves them loads of time, and it gives them peace of mind because they know they're deploying the best marketing activities. And basically, the course teaches schools our 3-step system that we're giving you a glimpse of today. And we created it to give schools a really affordable way of getting systemized marketing in place at their school, because not every school has the budget for our upper end services, such as a 10K marketing strategy. Yet we didn't want cost to be a barrier to those schools getting those great results that we generate from those bigger strategies. So to give you an example, one school client of ours had a 5-year decline in their pupil numbers, and they could not fathom out how to stop this and how to reverse that, how to stem that decline and then create an upturn in those pupil numbers. So they used our marketing strategy that we created for them and enjoyed an additional 17 pupils joining their school and a lovely cash injection of £860,000. So we decided to put the strategies we would normally consider for a marketing strategy into a low-cost course format to enable more schools to benefit. And loads of schools these are a selection of schools across the UK and internationally that have taken the course. But the point is here that whether you create a marketing plan or a strategy yourself, or whether you like the look of our ready-to-go option, the point is that a marketing plan is absolutely vital, John Lewis style. Okay. So that's step 2. And in a similar style to step 1, here are some key questions to ask yourselves. Have you planned out your marketing channels? And has this been done in a strategic fashion? So where everything's hanging together, you're reaching the right audience, you have the right messages, the right visual identity, and you're on the right channels, reaching your audience at the right time. These are really crucial questions to ask. And if those haven't been asked, we'd really encourage you to take steps to put those in place. Okay. Again, everyone's still with me? Michelle, if you're, yeah, perfect. Thank you, Michelle. The third step of our 3-step system is the persuade step. Now, this is about persuading prospective families to join your school. Now, there are various elements to this step that we don't have time to take you through today, but the big message for you is that inquiring families need to be nurtured. Your admissions team needs to have a really structured approach to this, a structured program of engagement with prospective families when they make an inquiry at your school. And this is the most important stage of all to get right in the marketing and admissions journey, because this is your warmest audience. You have families making inquiries here. We do not want to let them drift away. Okay, so you might be listening to this thinking, surely no school would miss this vital step or not have this app optimized. But when we do a mystery shop with a school, when we do mystery shops, generally, I can honestly say not one school has ever had this 100% nailed. Even schools that think they do are really surprised at the gaps we find. Okay, so even staff at a school who are the first point of contact can be often losing you hundreds of thousands of pounds of revenue if they're not making a great first impression. So, for example, I was visiting a school on Tuesday of this week, and with my husband, and it was for our son. We were looking at sixth form for him. It's a very lovely senior school and great reputation. The first person we spoke to just looked at us with silence. There was no greeting. And my husband was kind of a bit flummoxed, and he said, "We're here to see Mr." And he couldn't think of the name of the head of sixth form. And so rather than jumping in, she just continued to look blankly at him. And it was just such a cold first interaction with the school. But anyway, those things happen. So moving on, we then we were given a tour around the school, but with the head of sixth form. And it was just really underwhelming. I mean, obviously I'm coming at this from a professional point of view as well, but this was an experience as a parent. And I was asking about, what makes, the school different or unique. And he was telling me things that are just a given. He was telling me about the results of the school and the extracurricular activities. And it was just all a bit so what. There was nothing that impressed me. And actually, we've decided now to not consider the school anymore. So these things really matter, okay? And the brutal truth is that these gaps are costing you, or potentially costing you, really valuable families. But here's the thing: you can do all the marketing in the world, but failure to engage and nurture those inquiring families effectively and impressively can lead to that significant revenue loss for your school. And it's going to render all that marketing you've done to generate those inquiries completely useless, because there'll be a drop-off at that inquiry stage. So managing inquiries effectively with proper systems and proper protocols of the way you do things is really easy revenue for your school to get, okay? It's there for the taking. So get this sorted. It's really essential you're not letting those families slip away. So one way we help schools to achieve this is with our mystery shopping service. And this is where, under the guise of a prospective family, we examine the experience that you're offering to inquiring families. And schools really love it when we present their report back to them, and it's full of just really easy, quick, low cost or zero cost even actions they can take. And they can often do these things even on the same day. It's not big, expensive stuff, and it starts making an impact immediately. This is the best bit about these things. So this school, for example, a prestigious boarding school in Switzerland, they wanted to ensure their customer service was reflecting their status as one of the most distinctive boarding schools in the world. So we did a mystery shop, and we identified areas for improvement that made a huge difference. And inquiries and enrolments have increased as a result. This is real, tangible results that schools see with these. So what's our biggest tip with this? Well, it's about putting yourselves in prospective families' shoes. Imagine how you would be expect to be treated if you were buying a service costing £100,000, let's say a brand new luxury car. No doubt you'd expect a certain level of service. Well, it's no different for a fee-paying school, except it's more important, because as a school, you're not offering an off-the-shelf product like a car. You're offering the ticket to a superior future and better opportunities for a little person. Okay, and parents are not only handing over money to you, but most importantly, they're entrusting you with their most precious belonging in the world. So prospective parent expectations will be high, and frankly, quite right too. So this is the mindset to adopt. Treat every inquiry as though they are gold dust. As mentioned, we see lots of gaps when doing research at a school, and I'll just give you an example. So we were working with a school, and it's a large, well-established day and boarding independent school. And we mystery shopped their admissions process in the guise of a prospective family. And we phoned the school, we didn't hear back. We had to phone again. And on that second call with them, they didn't take our details. The experience was very generic. There was no personalization towards us or our child. And we've not heard from them since. There's no follow-up in place. Now, this is a school that were hemorrhaging pupils. Like I say, a very well-established school, so the potential was there to correct this. But it was clear to us where this huge gap for them was. They were literally missing out on families who could potentially be a really superb asset to their school. The good news is that following up gold dust inquiries is easy, effective, and inexpensive. And that's exactly what we put in place at this school. We help them to get the right systems, the procedures and protocols in place. And here's an example of a simple fix which led to a good result. So again, working with a client, a school client closely, and they'd had this declining pupil numbers. And so we worked with the school, and it involved phoning their list of inquiries that hadn't been touched. They just weren't engaging with these families at all. And it triggered interest from one of the first families that we contacted. And a week later, they'd asked for the paperwork, and they were signed up, and the school was £12,000 better off, which is just such an easy, quick fix, zero cost activity to do. So remember that rule of 7 about hitting prospective families 7 times with your message. Well, the same applies here. The way that you interact with inquiring families needs to be a real program of engagement, not just a one-hit wonder, not just, oh, well, I sent them an email, seeing if they were still interested, and no, not heard back. So, families are busy. It's going to take more than one email to get their attention. And, especially with the, the emotional and financial involvement that we described. So it's a program of engagement that's needed across an extended period of time, and involving, you want to keep it fresh, you want to have interact with them across different platforms, using different formats, and also involving different members of staff across your school. So your key question from step 3, does your school have a robust nurture and convert program of engagement in place? And I promise you that if you get that sewn up, and your school is going to see a huge difference in the number of inquiring families that enroll. So there it is, your 3-step system and the key elements to include to achieve that results-driven marketing. Obviously, what we've shared there is a real top-level glimpse into what we do. We just don't have time to go into any more detail today, but I'd encourage you to use this system swiftly and ask yourself those questions, because it will make a big difference quickly by way of helping you to focus in the right areas and to plan strategically so that your marketing and admissions is optimized end to end. But a big point to make here is that it's never been more important to market your school, as we said. So despite this, we still see common mistakes happening. So schools not taking action with the marketing, they're having a reactive rather than proactive approach. They're focusing on that one marketing activity rather than it being that working in harmony approach. And some of you may feel this about your school. And if you do, let me tell you, that's really going to be leading to really weak results for you, that leads to some very real costs in terms of pupil numbers. Okay, so instead, we really want you to think about adopting a more systemized approach, a results-driven approach, and acting without delay. Be goal-driven about it, and also make sure, as I say, that it's all optimized end to end. Because if schools continue to make these mistakes, there are some really real threats. And no doubt we're going to see, unfortunately, many schools go under or not be able to stand alone, and so have to merge or are bought by other school groups. Westwood School, for example, it's a prep school in Surrey. They closed in June 22. And that was prompted by falling numbers, which had been in decline, and they just obviously hadn't addressed this issue early enough. Unlike this school, an independent school in Lancashire that closed this summer, you'll see from the principal's statement there that they had tried to market their school, but obviously weren't doing the right things to make an impact. Another school here hit just too hard by the impact of the cost of living, and they closed sadly in July of this year. And the head described this as completely heartbreaking. You know, so many lives affected. And there are other examples too from the last couple of years. So the environment you're operating in does offer some very real threats, and don't make the mistake of thinking, oh, it's only the weaker schools or the lower profile schools or the schools outside of London that this is a reality for. St Mary's shown there was a really high profile school, and even Boris's old school closed in 2020. So it can happen to any school. You know, don't feel this kind of false sense of security or we're okay, we're doing fine. It's really important to make sure you're on top of this with a systemized approach. Okay. So we'd encourage you to optimize this, and it's no good having just one of these steps optimized, because let's say if you're promoting your school well, but then you're not persuading your families to enroll, you'll have empty places. So end to end is important. And if you are interested in knowing a bit more about our 6-week course that is going to enable you to action that 3-step system and that systemized approach, it is enormous value. As we said, it basically contains that marketing strategy that we put into our bigger, fatter strategies. So it's a lot less than even one term's fees for one pupil at your school. And it's really flexible as well, because it's all online and you can start at a date that suits you. So in terms of how that course works each week, on a Monday, the coaching videos and workbooks are released and drip fed to you across the 6 weeks, but they're recorded, so you can save them up for days when you have more time if you wish. There are weekly check-in sessions with ourselves on Zoom where we make sure you're progressing nicely, and we answer any questions and we talk about ideas for your school. And you can email us anytime outside of that. And it takes about 2 to 3 hours each week across the 6 weeks to do. So we've made it all super bite-sized and manageable, because it's all been designed for that time-poor school marketer and focused on helping you to fast-track your progress. But we wanted to also offer you some bonuses to go along with that today. So your first bonus is a mystery shop. So as we said, that's where we, under the guise of a prospective family, we examine what happens at every touch point of your admissions. And your second bonus is a social media review, which is a jam-packed session where you get tons of ideas to boost your social media. Often a big headache for schools nowadays, feeling that pressure around making sure they're getting a really vibrant social media feed out there and the right posts. And that's normally $749. And the package for these 3 products comes to $3,945. But for the reasons we've stated about helping you to navigate the tough climate ahead and getting that results-driven activity in place, we wanted to offer you a really special offer for this package of $3,445. So that's a £500 discount, but it's only available if you go ahead by the 22nd of November. That's 2 weeks' time. After that, the offer is going to be removed. And that doesn't mean you need to start the course then, by the way. You can actually start anytime, as we said, but you just need to give us the green light by then. And you should know that this package is benefiting schools across the UK and internationally. This is a school in Qatar that we worked with, and this is another school in Uganda, but it really is all about genuinely helping you to move forward. In terms of the return on investment, this is the return that you typically can see, even from just one pupil joining your school. So it pays for itself multiple times over. And one school here you can see generated 65,000 in the first 12 months alone. So if any of these challenges that we showed you at the start sound like you and you're keen to be intentional about taking that systemized approach to your marketing, you know that there are 2 options available to you, either the course on its own for that 1996, or you can turbo boost your impact further and go for that special package offer for 3,445 and enjoy that £500 discount. But either way, do get in touch. You can either book a call or you can email me personally, and that's me done. So I will hand over. I think Charlotte may have had some questions in. If I can ask you, Charlotte, to take the reins with the questions.
Yeah, I just had a couple directly to me, really. Just a couple about the course. So do you have to do the mystery shop at the same time as this, as during the 6 weeks? And the answer to that is no. You can have the mystery shop at a time that suits you. So possibly when you have a busy admissions window and you're really looking to sharpen up your processes, but we could discuss all that with you, but it doesn't happen to have to happen at the same time. And then secondly, is the price for the course per school? And the answer to that is no. Well, it's per school, but you get two members of staff can join. So it really is good value. And then just one other one around key messages, so not course related. So would we say that key messages are the same as values? So this school seems to be saying that they've got values and messages, and it's all got a bit muddled. So what would our advice be on that? And you're not alone there. We often see schools with values, missions, mottos, beliefs, behaviours, you name it, long lists of things. So all we're trying to get you to do is consolidate all those things into 3 to 5 meaningful keywords, if you can, that are going to be really memorable for your families and help you, in fact, not just your families, it helps you to tell your story better, and it helps everybody in school to be telling their story better if you can really hone those down.
Definitely. Any more questions, Damien? I don't know if you've had any in, but we'll hand back to you if not.
No, all the questions went straight to Charlotte, I think. Thank you very much. Bang on time as well. It's always hard to keep these to 45 minutes, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate it was kind of a whistle-stop tour as well, with lots of hints and tips for people there. So thank you very much. We'll make the recording available on our website later on today, and I'll drop everybody an email who's registered and taken part with a link so they can have a look at it again if they want, or they want to share it with any colleagues. And obviously I'd encourage you to reach out to Emily or Charlotte as well if you have any questions. So thank you very much. Before I let everybody go, I mentioned just before the call about what we do, which is free for schools. We actually have a 60-minute independent school next working session set up in February, where basically you'll come along, we'll analyse what your needs are, and introduce you to solutions that meet those needs. And at the end of that 60 minutes, you'll also get a nice £40 Amazon voucher as a thank you for joining us as well. I'll put that link in the chat there, so feel free to sign up to that if you like, and then we'll drop you an email later on as well with that link in. But if nobody's got any more questions, I will stop the recording and end the session and let everybody get off to their lunch breaks and enjoy the rest of their day. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks to Emily and Charlotte, and we'll see you all soon, hopefully.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for having me.